My name, as I say, is Jack Mackenzie, and my agent rang me and said, I've got a little part for you at Pinewood. It's only one day, and that was in January of 1974. And I was still there 6 months later. Happily, thank you very much. And my darling Rosemary's in the audience there. She was the assistant casting director. And we met on Space 1999 in 1974, only once with my daughter for a cup of tea. Then we lost touch for 21 years and met again.
Michelle, everybody.
We're all friends. Oh, what's David or Richard? David. No. I look at elephants, I don't talk about them. Have a seat and enjoy yourself and have a chat with everybody. Thank you.
Can you make it down here?
Hi.
Yes. I want you. Oh, you. Good.
We're all friends living in Deal, and it was a wonderful coincidence to meet her. And equally, she sent some scripts for you all to see. First of all, as an example, and others are available, but quite remarkable work. A man with a fertile imagination who created these adventures, which we've all enjoyed being in and watching.
I'm both amazed that it can be 50 years since the making of the great show Space 1999, and saddened that I'm unable to be there to join the celebrations of its half century. And even more so that Johnny Byrne, my husband, won't be there either. He would have loved this. When I met Johnny, writer and story consultant, he was already working on the show at Pinewood Studios, and I was just 20 years old. It all seemed to me, and it was, incredibly glamorous. One, and perhaps the most significant memory of those early days was, of course, when Johnny and I became engaged to be married. We rushed to Pinewood the following morning, and the first person to know was Chris Penfold, another writer on the show. As the shooting of Space continued, we spent much time at Pinewood and made very good friends among the cast, writers and crew. Thus, on our wedding day, at our reception at the London Ritz, Space 1999 was royally represented by the presence of Jerry Anderson, Martin Landau, Barbara Bain, and the director Charles Crichton. We also became very close to the actor Nick Tate, the director Ray Austin, and writers Christopher Bidmead and Chris Penfold, who was to become a lifelong friend of Johnny. I'd still been at university when I first met Johnny, and he encouraged me to take a typing course on graduation. This led to countless nights hunched over the old IBM golf ball typewriter, pounding out Space 99 in scripts before packing them up and dispatching them by train to London and then on to Pinewood. No fax, printer or computer in those days. It was literally cut, paste and Tipex, as Johnny was suddenly struck by the inspiration to change a scene. Our first son Jasper was born, and Space continued to be shot at Pinewood. Our first destination on leaving hospital as new parents was to the haven offered by the immensely kind producer Freddie Freiberger and his wife Shirley in their Knightsbridge house. And then we would take the baby and the dogs to the studios, where a huge fuss was made of Jasper by Barbara Bain. The greatness of Johnny's writing lay in his profound understanding of both characters and story. While Space 1999 made his name initially in screenwriting, and science fiction remained one of his greatest loves, he applied the same values to all his subsequent work. As he often put it himself, good drama arose from the small verities of human life and behaviour. And this was as true when set against the grand context of outer space, as it was in his later work. That surely is why 50 years on, his stories are as relatable as they were in 1974. It is also perhaps why Johnny went on to write on other shows that were globally successful. Among them Doctor Who, where he worked with Peter Davison and Tom Baker. And Johnny also worked as principal writer and script editor on All Creatures Great and Small, the dramatisation of James Herriot's fabled vet stories. Johnny Byrne created the still perennially loved Heartbeat. Both All Creatures and Heartbeat are still watched somewhere every day, some 47 and 30 years later. It's marvellous for us as his family, myself and our 3 sons, that such an incredible legacy remains of a giant talent and a deeply compassionate man. His understanding of people derived largely from his childhood in 1930s and 40s Dublin, which he vividly remembered as a rich tapestry of characters, human experience from comic to tragic, and everything in between. I wish Johnny had been able to participate in the 50th anniversary of Space 1999. The boy who left school at the age of 12 to help support his 11 younger siblings could never have dreamt of such a special and wonderful occasion. But sadly, he became ill in 2007 while being cared for in a palliative care hospital in Norfolk. Incredibly, a Space 1999 superfan, Matteo, used his savings to fly over from Los Angeles to sit beside Johnny's bed for 5 days. Such was the reach and splendour of Johnny's brilliance. The man he was shone through his work, and it still does.
And her own experience going to a Space 1999 convention with Chris one time. And so I'm going to read you that and take it in an amused way, please. Chris's wife Judy wrote, "Working with these young Canadian and American writers on their science fiction project Helios gave Chris huge pleasure. They all met at a Space 1999 convention many years ago. He was invited as one of the writers, and I, that's Chris's Judy, went along to one of them. Chris never seemed to notice how weird they all were. Fans bidding for the likes of the actors' old pajamas and other strange memorabilia. They were like Trekkies, watching each episode hundreds of times, and out of these fanatics he met Robert and Steve and Eric, and the love affair was formed. Steve came to see Chris in hospital from New York, and Robert from Vancouver. Such was their affection for him." So that's what Judy wrote as part of her tribute to Chris at his funeral. And I think with that, we'll play the video.
I'm Christopher Penfold, and I've worked as a writer and script editor in television for 45 years. And the shows that I've worked on are amongst them Space 1999 and All Creatures Great and Small and Casualty and The Bill and The Tripods, and lately I've done 78 films for Midsummer Murders. Principally, Space 1999 changed my life in respect of the people that I was able to work with. And I was delighted when Jerry and Sylvia asked me to take on the job. Even more delighted when they were asked by ITC to find an American writer, and they rang me with from LA in great delight, saying that they'd found someone that I'd really get on with, and his name was George Bellac, and they were absolutely right, and George and I remained friends for the rest of his life. The other relationship, of course, which was so important to me, was the relationship I established with Johnny Byrne when I asked him to join the writing team. Well, I suppose the episode that I'm most obviously proud of in Space 1999 was Dragon's Domain, which subsequently people have told me was the inspiration behind the whole of the Alien series. So that's something to be fairly proud of. But actually, in many ways, the episode that is my favourite episode is actually The Black Sun. I like it so much because one Friday afternoon, long Friday afternoon, sitting in the office with Johnny and kicking this story about and writing the episode from start to finish in the 2 days of the weekend and taking it back to the studio on Monday morning. And eventually seeing it almost word for word on screen. It was in many ways one of the most controversial episodes in the series. We did actually introduce God in the form of a female voice, but that was the kind of thing that you could get away with in the original series of Space 1999, and rising to all of those challenges make that one of my favourite episodes. As time has gone by, of course, and the way that the series has been cherished by the fans over the years, it's become apparent that it genuinely was a show that appeals to all ages. People are still talking about it 40 years later, probably because of the themes that we chose to explore in it. I realise that I get enthusiastic responses from people who are now old enough to have children of their own and who have rediscovered the show. I feel hugely flattered and amazed that that's the case, but I find it very enjoyable that it is. As I began to look at the possibilities of the genre, what I really liked about it was the possibility I thought it had for exploring themes which don't normally get looked at in the course of most popular television drama. They would be philosophical themes, questions about who we are, why we are here, where we're going, what's the universe all about, and I found that immensely interesting and challenging, and they were the themes that I really wanted to pursue. And it was a terrific challenge and very enjoyable to do. We can look back on now in hindsight to see it for what it was worth.
When I talked to Roy and Warren on Friday, he asked me if I would mind reaching out to Barbara just to ask if she would do a video. And then I got busy on Saturday and I didn't get it done, so then I reached out Sunday morning and asked her. And then of course came the news about Rosie, and I had to reach out again really quickly and tell her not to worry about it, don't bother. But she did something anyway. And as it turns out, well, you're about to see what she said, because then Rosie's passing affected everything.
Hello, everybody. Well, today was the day that I wanted to be with you. And as it turned out, it's a day that I needed to be with you. As the day changed, it was this morning that I was informed that our very special person, Rose Badgett, had passed. Rosie to me. And I wanted to then be with you so we could mark her being, her presence, her integrity, her devotion, her intelligence, so many things about her that we need to mark and dedicate this day to her. So I thank you, and I wish every one of you well. Thank you.
I was only going to be in the first episode, so I didn't get a year-long contract. All I had was the first episode. And I was going to die. But Lee Katzin, the director, was workshopping all kinds of things, experimenting with stuff. And he noticed me, and he said to me one day, Nick, you want to do lunch today? I think, why's the director asking me? I'm like an extra, virtually. So I said, well, I want to do lunch. So I went with him for lunch. And he said, I've been noticing you. He said, you clearly understand the camera. And you work much? And I said, yeah, I've done 2 television series in Australia. I played co-lead in one and second lead in the second. And he said, got a big surprise here. He said, the Italian actor that's coming to play the chief astronaut is suddenly not coming. Don't ask me why, but... And then I came in the next morning, there were all these actors lined up outside the casting director's office. And they all looked dark, Italian looking. And he comes out and he calls me over and he said, here's the science. Nick, how's your Italian accent? I said, Italian accent, of course I can do the Italian accent, no worries, no problem. You know, the only Italians I knew were waiters. So I go in, and Sylvia says, Lee, he's playing an astronaut for us already. Yeah, but he dies, you know. And anyway, she said, but it's Italian. Nick, do you do Italian? So I launched into my Italian. She goes, no, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. I didn't even get to do the lines. And she's saying, Nick, thank you very much. And Jerry Anderson says nothing. And Michael Palmer's like, and I'm walking to the door and he said, wait a minute. Well, look, let him play it Australian. And Sylvia says, there's no bloody Australians on the moon. I said, there's no bloody English on the moon either. In between shows, Space 1999 was cancelled. We didn't know when we were leaving that it wasn't going to come back. But the rumor was it's over, you know, go away, maybe it will pick up in popularity, but there's not much chance because the Star Trek people just say, it isn't Star Trek. Well, no, it was never meant to be. You know, it was more science fiction than science fiction. And in that same year of 1975. And Xenia Merton rings me and she says, Nick, you know they're doing Space 1999 again. I said, no, they're not, sweetheart. I mean, I don't even think about it. I just was with Jerry and never mentioned it. She said, well, they're doing it. And none of us are in it. They've killed Barry Morse. I don't know where we're all going, but apparently the only 2 people that are in it are Martin and Barbara. But I knew that my character was popular. I knew that ITC said that I got 5,000 fan mail a week. That wasn't particularly true or accurate. Well, if it was, I never saw them. Because all the fan mail, Martin and Barbara said they had to get it all. So I said, can I see Jerry? I got to go down and see him. And I couldn't get on. I rang, I had my agent ring, he wouldn't see me. I think it was like the 1st of November, 1975. I get a call from my agent saying, Jerry Anderson wants to see you at Pinewood Studios. So I went down to see Jerry. And Jerry was always very uncomfortable around actors. He said, sit down, Nick. I need to tell you what's been going on. I said, why? Well, you've won. I said, what? He said, Nick, you've won. I said, I've won what? I want you back in the show. And I said, well, why did you not want me in the show? He said, I've never not wanted you in the show. He said, but the new man that's come in and is now taken over from Sylvia, he has very strong ideas about what he wants and what he's doing, and so that's why you're not in the show. he said, I want you to meet Fred. I said, okay, yeah, I think we should meet Fred. And Fred comes in, and just instantly, the minute the two of us looked at each other, we were not good. We were not good. First thing he said to me is, you know, I got to tell you, the reason I've asked you to come here is because when I told my kids that you weren't in the show, they said, Dad, he's so popular, you got to have Alan Carter in the show. So that's the reason I want to have you. You want to have me back because your kids want me back? Okay. And he said, and also he said, I'm going to give you a big, going to give you a big promotion. Going to make you a lieutenant. And I said, have you ever seen this show, Fred? He said, what are you talking about? Because I've seen all the episodes. I said, you never noticed anybody calling me captain before? You were captain? I said, yeah, I was captain, Fred. The lieutenant would be a demotion. I came back and episode 5 comes out, and I open the script and I, looking through, starting to read, interesting story, nothing about Alan, nowhere Alan on page 49. Alan Carter is in moon buggy across the moon, and Martin looks out the window and says, Alan, is everything, I forget the line that he had, and I have to say, all on automatic, Commander. And that's it. So I took the script in and I said, is this how you write meaningfully for me, Fred? Stick it up your ass. He said, what are you doing? I said, we're in England, he's an American. I said, you American, you speak with forked tongue. And I said it much more vehemently than that. I go out in the car, you can't walk out on me. I said, watch me. You'll never work in Hollywood again. I said, it isn't Hollywood, man, it's England. And then Martin comes over, Nicky, what are you doing? And I walk out the door. And I'm gone, right? And Martin comes over, what are you doing? Nicky, don't do this. He can destroy you. I said, well, he's doing a pretty good job with the scripts, so it's all yours, Martin.
Tell us about your fellow castmates. Martin Landau, Barbara Bain, Tony Apple.
Oh, Tony, dear Tony. Yeah, we all got along. It was a very, very good cast. We were a good company. And, everyone liked everyone, so it was a pleasure, actually. And I don't remember anything that was, that there was an atmosphere, or I don't remember that. It might have happened, but I never heard it. I never, saw it happening. So, it was a very, very pleasant experience.
That's wonderful. And does it stand out in your memory as being a particularly pleasant cast to work with amongst all the casts you've worked with in your career?
Well, I think so, because remember, it took at least a year to do the program. So normally, if you work on something, it might be 3 months, 2 weeks, whatever. But to work on something which takes a year, you can see each other aging. So, well, not Barbara.
I think Dad would have been incredibly touched that 5 decades on, there's a room full of incredibly passionate people smiling and still enjoying the same old show with the same set of episodes, and for some reason you keep rewatching them. It's quite incredible. At the back of the room I've just seen Chris Thompson has walked in. Now, can I have a show of hands for those who had a Moonbase Alpha Technical Operations Manual? Okay, Chris, it's enough for you to come up and just bathe in the glory for a minute. So there's Chris Thompson with you now. Welcome, Chris. So yeah, Chris has done a lot of fantastic stuff. That book he wrote pretty much by yourself, Chris. Tell them about the book. And if anybody hasn't bought it, shame on you. But you can absolve yourselves tomorrow in the room on the other side of the building. So Chris, tell us about the book.
I think that was pretty much everyone who has it. So the Moonbase Architect Manual, it was a lockdown project that we just sort of came up with halfway through, and we did it in a year, and I wrote it along with Andrew Clements. And yeah, basically watch every single episode of Space 1999, which isn't a chore really, and just draw everything. But it's gone quite well, and we've been able to do a bunch more since. So yeah, thank you for letting me do that.
Oh, well, thank you for doing it, Chris. And yes, absolutely, give me a round of applause. Could we wheel in the special table, please? Tim, are you there with the special table? You might need an extra pair of hands. Oh, here we go. Welcome the special table. Now, yes, it is. It's the last person that crossed me under that clock. So. Yeah, definitely. It's a two-man job. Okay, welcoming the Eagle 1976. Oh. So based on the Mattel Eagle, or inspired by it, but upgraded for a modern audience of big children, that's you lot. This is the prototype for the Eagle 1976.
And I love the fact that the figure's about 3 3/4 inches. So awesome. Yeah. Wow. He's doing the super navigation.
It must be warm now. I love the figures. I lived in Jasper. Left the army, went there with the army to Jasper, adventure training, got to go local, left the army, went there for 2 years, and then 2008, I went there for 2.5 years, and just went there.
Being scouted on the news, it's still on the news. And they rebuilt my and they've lived there since the 60s. And so we got
Did you have any inkling that you thought, well, this actually could be something that could be long-lasting and make an impact years on? Did you think that at the time, or with the sets and things like that?
Not in the slightest. You just really pitch up and try and do your best on the day. If I'd thought that this would follow, I'd have saved every script, every scrap. My costume, I'd be wearing my costume. Well, no, I mean, but so no, I mean, and I don't think any of us did. I mean, basically as working actors. You pitch up and you do the job. You don't think, I think what we had hoped is that it would really give Star Trek a run for its money. But I don't think because it didn't go on the networks in America, right. It didn't really get that boost, as I understand it.
But I got the job. And I spent the first 3 days dressed in this Michelin suit, these very, very hot, and it was the summer of '76, which was notoriously hot. And I didn't go in front of the cameras for the first 2.5 days, or right at the end of the third day, I got to be in front of the cameras for the first time, by which time I'd lost 2 stone. So, sitting inside this suit all day, okay, you can get changed for lunch, get back into this thing, and sit there for the afternoon waiting in the dressing room. But I did eventually get in front of the camera, and it was a welcome release.
I never stepped out from the spaceship, so although I was one of the characters for the, but my part was always sitting at the desk and looking at the screen. That was my part. But Tony was sitting very close, and then because I worked with Tony for the protectors, So that then he turned out to be, I thought he was a typical Englishman, that's what I thought. But then he said that, you know, I was born in Singapore, and you are, you know, like you, I was born in Asia, and I loved that Singapore very much. And so we became friends while we started working with you know, other protectors thing. But Tony was, to me, was one of the sweetest actor I ever met in my life. He was very sweet, and then that I liked him very much. We became very good friends, and then he passed away very young, and then I was already living in London. We moved to LA. I was so sad when I found out he passed away.
Obviously, practical effects was the main way of creating visual spectacles in the 70s and 80s and even up to the 90s. But in the 90s, CGI in TV shows and film became a lot more prominent, and many productions nowadays rely solely on green screen and doing and quote unquote fixing it in post with a computer. Do you think, as someone who has put his own energy into doing things practically, that filmmaking nowadays has gotten a bit, I don't know, lazy because of the over reliance on CGI?
Well, expensive as well.
Yeah.
The number of people involved, but that's progress. You know, there's no going back. A combination of CGI and model is what I like.
Yeah.
And enhancements and rig removal, which is a thing that bugged us on most of the stuff that we did before. Is you couldn't do anything if there was a rig in the shot. Whereas now you can just paint it green or something and it disappears. So there we go.
Thank you.
Right, away we go. Smile, everybody.
You are a legend. A legend. Wow.
I own a Giuseppe Spitfire.
Oh!
Yes. Oh, you absolute hero. Yeah, it dates from 1942.
I don't remember enough of it to state specific incidents or scenes or episodes. But I believe so much in it at the time. I believe so much of what was written, and I was so easy with what it was saying that I felt quite comfortable doing it.
And when the arm of the monster are around my neck, and they try to was static, and I had to play. It was like it was, you know. So it was not easy, but anyway, I hoped to have given the real impression of fighting.
You survived.
You survived. No, I don't survive. The monster killed me.
That's right.
But a friend of mine has written a novel about Tony Cellini before the episode of the dragon, before going to the moon base, the story of Cellini was in a safari in Africa.
Feeling about it, and I certainly did make my death scene as long as I could.
I'm going to go back and watch it.
And it did take a long time, but
I thought I did it really well, except that sometimes, you know, when you do, men in the audience say, "Die, you," you know.
Okay, you feel
It's just it's all over the place. All the transports on it. That's why I gave you those. So I had that as early as I can. No, just really. Oh, we want to replicate the picture.
So if you look scared by the evil, by the aliens, you're trying to protect you. Like on my shoulder, like this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I can take a picture with you for me. It's possible? Grazie, mi fai la foto?
May I say, Gussenham Shippen? Gussenham Shippen.
Oh, get Gussenham Shippen.
Ah, yes, royalty.
Don't mind us. We're not looking. We've got an audience. There's a panel behind you. We really need to colour.
Aspetta, allora qualche foto di lui si fa che si mette la coda, me la posso pure permettere.
Costing you a tenner each for these. I like looking up. I'm looking up at the stars.
What about that worried expression? Is he about to crash another one?
I never crashed one. That was all bad writing.
Beh, saluto tutti i miei fans di Spazio 1999 che sono qui a Londra, come dire, sorpreso come dire, dall'ammirazione dei fans per questa serie e anche per l'episodio che io ho interpretato. Una ricostruzione fantastica di un interno astronave che un fan ha ricostruito nel suo salotto, mi dicono, ma non ci credo. Comunque è stata una serie formidabile, venire qui a Londra dopo 50 anni e avere ancora queste manifestazioni di affetto, di ammirazione per quel personaggio che avevo fatto tanti anni fa è abbastanza gratificante per un vecchio attore novantenne. 6 mesi mi mancano ai 90.
Il computer sta registrando, puoi andare.
Grazie. Io sono il capitano Giusi Tabbone, ufficiale medico della Moonbase Alpha. Questo è il nostro ultimo messaggio. Siamo gli unici 2 rimasti della base. Sono andati via tutti prima di noi. Abbiamo perso il nostro comandante, abbiamo perso il nostro ufficiale medico, abbiamo perso i nostri migliori piloti. Siamo in viaggio da decine di anni. Non abbiamo nessun controllo su dove ci sta portando questo nostro satellite. Adesso abbiamo trovato dei segnali, abbiamo percepito dei segnali. Giuseppe li ha analizzati e ci recheremo lì perché sulla base non c'è più niente. Siamo pronti?
Prontissimo.
Maggiore, attendiamo.
Aspetta che controllo. Sì, possiamo.
Ma hai controllato se c'è atmosfera?
Sì, a volte l'atmosfera.
Ok. Ma guarda, noi abbiamo lasciato la base e abbiamo fatto veramente così, un gioco d'azzardo, perché non sappiamo se ne stiamo atterrando.
Ok, va, tu atterra.
Io atterro, ok,
Sì,
va bene, sto atterrando. Ma Giuseppe, ma quella non ti sembra il Regno Unito?
Ma dove ci hai portato, scusa?
Ma non lo so, ma dove ti stai portando tu? Quella non sembra il Regno Unito. Ma quella sembra Londra! Ma che ci fa a Londra dall'altra parte dell'universo?
Io sono base lunare a Londra, sai.
Aspetta, non è che abbiamo fatto tutto il giro dell'universo e siamo tornati al punto di partenza.
Non lo so, può essere. Non si capisce più niente qua con i comandi, sono tutti spenti.
Ma vedi se il comandante aspettava un altro paio d'anni prima di tirarsela?
Lo so, vabbè, pazienza.
Aspetta che atterriamo.
Cartella, vedi se troviamo forme di vita intelligenti, perché...
Non lo so, vediamo di atterrare. Prima di aprire le porte controlla che c'è l'atmosfera e che ci siano delle forme di vita intelligenti.
Sì, aspetta, vedo delle forme, ma intelligentissime, proprio veramente una cosa incredibile, guarda. Sì, forse usciamo, dai, usciamo.
Usciamo, andiamo a vedere se sono vite intelligenti. Ok. Ma guarda che se muoio sei l'unico sopravvissuto della base.
Sì, anche l'unico erede sono.
Ok, vediamo queste forme di vita intelligenti, ma è una convention.
Beh, lo dicevo io, forme di vita
noi sopravvissuti.
Sì.
Vai! Pensa come sarebbero contenti quelli che non sono sopravvissuti.
Appunto, poi guarda lì, c'è Agnese, quindi forme di vita intelligentissime, dicevo, quindi insomma, meglio di così. Anche Massimo, dammi questo. Guardate che intelligente.
So,
if we don't see you, give us a shout.
yes, and you will finalize the last call. You better shout out well. So I'm going to start out with some of these scripts that we've received. Just so you know, these scripts were the personal scripts of Johnny Byrne. So they were discovered by his wife in a box from his wife Sandy. Discovered these in a box and donated them to us for this auction.
Hi everyone, this is Lisa Harrow. You may remember me from the Space 99 episode Testament of Arcadia, in which I played Anna Davis. I wanted to take a moment to wish everyone attending the London convention a wonderful time as you celebrate the 50th anniversary of Space 1999. Amazing, 50 years, and it's still going strong. I wish I could be with you all, but unfortunately I'm in New Zealand on the other side of the world, and I don't think there's a spaceship available that could whisk me into your midst as quickly as I need to be. So, cheers to you all. My best wishes, and have a wonderful time.
Status report, Dr. Robert Mathias recording. September 13th, 1999. A tragic day in history that changed all our lives forever. exactly 50 years ago today. While our first 25 years were spent wandering the vastness of space, the remainder of that time has been spent here on Terra Alpha. And with many of us divided on whether or not we should have settled here in the first place. Although we've faced many challenges, we've adapted and grown into a thriving community once again. In the last few years, we've even discovered remnants of an ancient civilization buried beneath the surface. In a few months' time, the moon will be returning. Its slingshot trajectory will bring it just close enough for reconnaissance, but sadly, for the last time. After that, it'll be hurled even deeper into the cosmos, likely never to return. We don't know where the moon's been or what it's encountered in all that time, but recently a few of us have made a very hard decision. We've decided to go back. We've chosen to continue the journey along with our families. What mysteries and wonders await us? We'll find out soon enough, together. It's hard to believe, but we're going back to Moon Base Alpha.